In just a few minutes, you're going to learn how Dartfish Note helps to make the identification of important moments in your games efficient, and how it replaces the pen and paper methods of the past. When Dartfish Note is started, you'll be here in the Notebook section, but if you're new to Note, the first thing you'll do is bring up the menu and go to Panels to create your first panel. You can choose to base it on one of the built-in examples, but I'm going to start from scratch with a blank panel. So here's my panel, and I'm now on the Properties page. I'll give my panel a name. You'll want to edit the period property so that it relates to your sport. That might actually be period if your sport is ice hockey, but for soccer you'd make this half, boxing, round, and for tennis I'll use set. The period name is used to provide more information about each event, allowing you, for example, to distinguish between the events of the first half and those of the second half. Also, if you need to stop filming between periods for any reason, the division into multiple periods will facilitate synchronization of your notebook with multiple video files. Now looking at the notebook keyword section. These provide searchable information for the entire notebook once it's online, and they will be transferred to video too. These terms are both searchable and filterable, both on Dartfish TV and in your Dartfish software library. At this stage, you're only defining the categories of keywords that you will want to use. I'm going to add tournament and opposition. And for that, I'll use a player pick list. The relevant keywords for these will be added when you use your notebook later. Because notebook keywords relate to how content is discovered on Dartfish TV, you may want to agree the best choices with your Dartfish TV admin and the other Dartfish TV users in your organisation. Now it's time to start thinking about the buttons I need. The first thing to do is to define your button groups. The question that you want to ask yourself is, what do I want to know about these events that I'm tagging? And the answer to that is going to be very individual, depending on the key performance indicators that you want to identify. But the default groups already provide some commonly used categories: action, outcome, and player. These can be changed. For example, rather than action, I might want to use the terminology which makes sense in my sport. I also need to think about which buttons I'm going to use to create my events, as indicated by this icon, and which will simply add additional keywords to events already created, as indicated by this icon. On my panel, the point from start to finish is going to be my event, and it's additionally described by the outcome of the point and the player who won the point. Having defined the group properties, I can work on the buttons themselves. First tap Panel, then add a button, edit it so that it records the keyword that I want, For a tennis point, I can't predict how long the event is going to last, so the duration is variable. And the pre-roll will be just a couple of seconds. By using pre-roll, I don't have to second guess when the action is about to start. I press the button when I see the start of the event, and it will actually be time-stamped, in this case, 3 seconds earlier. Save that. Choose a size for the button. Choose a position. And duplicate that button for the other points. editing each as necessary. And I repeat that till my panel is complete. On game day, I go to Notebooks and create a new one for this game by selecting the panel I created. Name it and enter notebook keywords according to the categories I defined when I set up my panel. I can also personalize the buttons that I defined as pick list buttons. I simply tap the button to do that there, but even during recording I can continue to change the player's name by using a long tap. Not really appropriate for tennis, but for other sports where there might be substitutions, it could be. At the start of the game, I'll start the timer at a really obvious moment. That might be when the referee or umpire calls for the start of play. Choosing an obvious moment is going to make the synchronization of events with video later much quicker and easier. Now I tag each event as it happens. First tapping an event button, and then the relevant keyword buttons. Particularly impressive events can be favorited. And if I make an error in my tagging, I can either tap the correct keyword button to replace the incorrect one, or delete the event entirely. I continue in this way until the end of the period, or in this case set, when I'll stop recording, and resume at the start of the second period. At the end of the game, I stop the timer for one last time, and the notebook is uploaded to Dartfish TV. In doing so, it gets deleted from my iPad, and the job of Note is now complete.